It's Friday and it's time for Supply Watch. Here we take a look at what has made headlines in Africa's supply chain and around the world. Here is what you can expect for the next 15 minutes. Uganda's fuel crisis. Fuel prices surged from $1 to over $3. Food prices are following suit. Have all the latest details. And Sudan closed shops. Sudanese businesses obliged to the civil disobedience over Monday's killings. Living costs there are sky high. Brent oil prices have reached a 7-year high, $86 per barrel. What does this mean for supply chains? I have the details. And WHO warns Omicron is still a threat. 18 million new infections in the past week alone. This is not lost to the president of the world's manufacturing hub, Xi Jinping. And on a good note, Eritreans living in diaspora raise $500,000 to aid Jonas Sigay, who is suffering from cancer. Welcome to the program. I'm Mono Njuguna. Let us start at the Pearl of Africa, Uganda, where reports indicate the country will witness fuel shortages for at least 2 more weeks. That is according to top fuel dealers. On Monday, reports of fuel shortages in northern and western Uganda emerged, with consumers paying up to 12,000 Uganda shillings, which is about $3.40, up from just 4,000 shillings.
A lot of friends call me and they tell me about them trying to go to other fuel stations and they cannot get fuel, and a lot of cars have actually been parked. Right now it is a very big situation, not just a job.
Since last week, fuel pump prices have increased from 4,500 shillings, that's Uganda shillings, to more than 600,000 per litre. The shortage of this precious commodity stems from delays at the border with Kenya, where reports indicate since December last year, traffic snarl-ups have stretched up to 70 kilometers. Uganda's health ministry had placed a hefty COVID-19 testing fee, which was protested by drivers and was temporarily revoked this week, as Uganda's government races against time to supply the urgently needed fuel.
Yesterday, I was in one of the suburbs around Kampala and I took a litre of petrol at 12,000. Yes, 12,000, and I was really like, hey, what is going on in the country? It's too high. I've never seen the prices of fuel going high to that extent.
Earlier in the year, I spoke to investigative journalist Solomon Serwanja, who hinted on the brewing crisis. Here's that.
From the COVID-19 testing kits to the testing at the border point of Uganda and Kenya. I mean, right now as I speak, I spoke to an official at the Uganda Revenue Authority this morning and was telling me there's about 20 kilometers of stranded trucks. You know, why? Because the truck drivers are protesting that Uganda cannot be asking them for $30 or 100,000 shillings to do a COVID test, yet they already did one in Kenya. And they're saying that we absolutely will not pay that. And the Ministry of Health in Uganda has decided to say, we will not put our guard down. But I mean, why are we, testing people who have also been tested already?
The ripple effect of the shortage has prices of commodities shooting up as transportation is hugely hampered. Speaking to Daily Monitor, Mr. Patrick Ogwal, the chairman of Lira Product Dealers Association, said it costs 2 million shillings or about $564 to transport 10,000 kilograms of produce from Bale to Lira, a distance of 227.3 kilometers, up from 1.5 million shillings or about $423. This cost has been transferred to consumers who are paying more for foodstuffs and other commodities. A spot check of consumer goods revealed the retail prices of a kilo of beans was going for between 1,600 and 1,700 shillings, up from 1,300. Maize increased from 700 to 900 and simsim from 4,000 to 4,300. Still talking about oil, on Tuesday, Brent crude settled at $86.95, which is about $87 per barrel, a record in almost a decade. The price rose as traders worried that an attack on a fuel storage facility in the Middle East could affect supply. 3 fuel tankers were bombed by suspected drone strike from Yemeni Houthi rebels. Price rises were even steeper in the U.S., where West Texas Intermediate crude increased by 1.3% to $84.89 a barrel. Growing optimism of a speedy global economic recovery is also thought to be contributing to the rising demand for oil. Last year, oil shortages were witnessed in the UK and the US, with the UK's exit from the European Union leading to transportation issues. In the US, truckers could not get the commodity to where it's needed in time due to the pandemic, and also most of them gave up. So then, a growing question is whether African countries will take advantage of the soaring prices. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, that counts for 13 states and accounts for 40% of world crude oil production, is gradually loosening the output cuts that were implemented when demand collapsed in 2020. Africa's largest oil producer is Nigeria, where oil rents account for 7.4% of its GDP in 2019. The rise in fuel prices is expected to reflect in the global economy, with prices of products expected to follow suit. The bigger question, though, is how will it affect the supply chain? Next week we'll be having more details on that, of course speaking to various industry experts to know the impact in West Africa, in Southern Africa, and also in Europe. Buying basic products in the Sudanese capital, Khartoum, was a strenuous affair this week, as people barricaded streets and closed shops in response to a call for 2 days of civil disobedience. The call was made following the killing of 7 protesters on Monday by security forces. Demonstrations have characterized Sudan after October's coup, with the Sudanese people demanding civilian rule. More than 70 people have lost their lives as the skirmishes continue to plague the country's economy. Roadblocks have made movement of goods difficult, and the prices are skyrocketing. Last year, demonstrators blockaded roads leading out of Sudan's seaport, effectively crippling the supply chain. Hundreds of trucks packed with goods stood idle in Port Sudan. Dozens of container ships lay anchored and untouched. Roads to other provinces and the capital Khartoum were also cut. Docks shuttered, and even Port Sudan Airport was also closed for a time. The continuing demonstrations, coupled with global economic constrictions resulting from the COVID-19 pandemic, are making life difficult in Sudan, with many saying they cannot make ends meet. Recently, Sudanese Finance Minister Jibril Ibrahim reportedly said, "We have abandoned our 2022 growth plans and are building a worst-case scenario via depending on limited resources." The United Nations and the US have criticized the latest killings, which could make planned peace talks impossible. Sad story there, sad affair for the Sudanese people. They continue fighting for democracy. The military rule there, the coup happened in October last year. We'll keep an eye on that story and give you the latest as and when we do get it. Now to another emerging issue in Ethiopia. The International Committee of the Red Cross, ICRC, has expressed concerns over lack of medicine and medical equipment in northern Ethiopia, which has witnessed a conflict for more than a year. The ICRC says in Amhara and Afar regions, people with chronic diseases are dying every day, and women are giving birth at home as health facilities are not functional. According to ICRC, many people are without electricity or water, and some have closed for lack of supplies. The ICRC says the ability to deliver humanitarian assistance is seriously hampered by a combination of fighting, insecurity, and restrictions. Supply chain experts say the region is witnessing the socio-economic impact of war, with supply chains facing a momentous task to reach people who are desperately needing of care and help. Here is Dr. Tedros Adhanom, the WHO's Director General, on the same issue of Tigray.
The situation is serious. Nowhere in the world you would find a crisis like what you see in the northern part of Ethiopia, especially in Tigray. None. No, nowhere in the world are we witnessing hell like in Tigray.
The World Health Organization, WHO, on Tuesday warned world leaders that coronavirus pandemic is nowhere near over. Dr. Tedros Adhanom cautioned against the assumption that the newly dominant Omicron variant is significantly milder and has eliminated the threat posed by the virus. Here he is speaking.
This pandemic is nowhere near over, and with the incredible growth of Omicron globally, new variants are likely to emerge.
These warnings come as some European nations saw record new case numbers this week. France reported nearly 500,000 new daily cases on Tuesday. On Wednesday, Germany recorded 100,000 new infections. According to WHO, Omicron variant is responsible for 18 million new infections across the world over the past week alone. Production could slow this first quarter of the year as Omicron gathers steam. In China, several states have reported cases, with one case reported in Beijing, which will host Winter Olympics in the next few weeks. China will also be celebrating Lunar New Year, and authorities expect some spike in COVID-19 cases there. China is the manufacturing hub of the world, as you all know, and rising COVID-19 cases there mean a drop in production and therefore rising demands, higher prices and delays in delivery. While addressing the World Economic Forum this week, China's President Xi Jinping called on nations to secure global supply chains and prevent inflation shocks.
We need to explore new drivers of economic growth, new modes of social life, and new pathways for people-to-people exchange. In a bid to facilitate cross-border trade, keep industrial and supply chains secure and smooth, and promote steady and solid progress in global economic recovery.
President Xi also insisted in fighting the pandemic as one. He urged the global leaders to bridge the development divide in order for every global citizen to feel the impact of global trade.
Countries around the world should uphold true multilateralism. We should remove barriers, not erect walls. We should open up, not close off. We should seek integration, not decoupling. This is the way to build an open world economy.
Now let's turn to Nigeria, where Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari presided over a rice pyramid ceremony held this week, which saw tons of rice harvested by farmers to pay back loans from Central Bank of Nigeria displayed. The loan, among other things, helped more than double the average yield of rice and maize, ending the country's dependence on rice imports. The Anchor Borrowers Program was launched in 2015 by Nigeria's central bank. The plan provides rice farmers with loans and technical advice so they can expand production and increase yields while limiting the nation's dependency on imports. Authorities in Nigeria say the plan has worked, raising rice production from 4.5 tons to 9 tons after 5 years. President Buhari urged more farmers to take loans in order to build more food security for Africa's most populous nation. The move will also help in Nigeria to become a rice exporter in the region. Now to another sad story. 10 people died in Madagascar's capital, Antananarivo, this week as floods swept the island country. Over 500 people were trapped and displaced by the raging waters. According to reports, most of the victims were trapped in landslides or collapsed houses, especially in the deprived neighborhoods of the suburb of Antananarivo, which has nearly 1.3 million inhabitants. In 2018, Cyclone Eva killed 51 people and left 22 missing. 2 months later, Tropical Storm Elikim had killed 20 people and left nearly 19,000 affected. We mourn with the people of Madagascar. Now to a very inspiring story. Eritreans in diaspora raised $560 within a day of launching a fundraising campaign for a man back home to get treatment abroad for a rare form of blood cancer. Jonas Sigay and his family, who live in a village south of Eritrea capital, Asmara, appeared in a video describing his sad circumstances. Sigay suffers from Hodgkin lymphoma, which is described by the UK National Health Service (NHS) as uncommon blood cancer that can usually be treated successfully with chemotherapy alone or chemotherapy followed by radiotherapy. He has lived with the disease for a year now. The money for Jonas Sigay was raised through GoFundMe appeal started by Canada-based Eritrean Mebrasu Hidrea. Moving acts of generosity there. I hope and pray that someday we will have the capacity to treat our very own without needing to fly them out. All the best to Sigay and his family. That's where we anchor for now. For more stories on supply chain, visit our website www.supplychainafricanews.com. Do you have a story on supply chain that you would like us to cover? Get in touch with us. Elon Musk, a South African by the way, the CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, once said, "The supply chain stuff is really tricky." Who knows? Food for thought. I'm Mwana Njuguna. Thank you so much for watching the show. See you next week.